Hola, Culers, and welcome to yet another edition of Blaugrana Always, where today we will be talking about Lionel Messi's record-breaking 8th Ballon d'Or victory. When I say record-breaking, the only record that he's truly broken is his own. He was already standing head and shoulders above everyone else with 7 Ballon d'Ors, and now he's just gone on to win yet another one. And I know it's been a while since he won the Ballon d'Or. I think, if I'm not wrong, he won it on the 30th or 31st of October, and it's almost 3 weeks since he's won the Ballon d'Or. It's just that schedules have been a little busy. We also had the El Clasico, which I had to review at about the same time. So it's this video's gotten a little delayed, but like I've always said on this channel, it's better late than never. And here we are. Rather, here I am again. Unfortunately, I mean, it's the same old story. Our difficult schedules have made it very incredibly tough to come together to make a video, and that's why yet again I'm making this video alone. But I think we should be seeing the other coolers very very soon. I know I keep saying this almost every single video, but I genuinely feel that it's only a matter of when and not if when we see the other coolers. So let's just be a little more patient, and you'll have to make do with me for now. So, just like every other year, the Ballon d'Or is obviously a very controversial pick, and a lot of people are going to argue, and there will be people, of course, who will be arguing that Messi did not deserve to win the Ballon d'Or and that Haaland deserved to win it. And quite honestly, even if Haaland would have gone on to win the Ballon d'Or, it wouldn't have hurt me too much because he won the World Cup last year. I didn't want to get too greedy. But needless to say, it does feel great to have Messi win the Ballon d'Or, another feather in his cap. And a very strong argument can actually objectively be made for Messi winning the Ballon d'Or. This was the World Cup year. This was the Ballon d'Or preceding the World Cup year. World Cup is definitely the most prestigious and the most important award to be won in football. And Lionel Messi was head and shoulders the best player in that World Cup. He scored in all knockout stages. He was man of the match in all knockout stages, and he was just absolutely phenomenal. He scored a brace even in the final. He scored his penalty as well, and even his opponent in the World Cup final, Kylian Mbappe, has very honestly and very openly admitted that Lionel Messi deserved to win the Ballon d'Or. As incredible as Haaland's treble-winning season was, the fact, just the fact that Lionel Messi had the pressure of the entire world on his shoulders. It's been years and years and years since people have been really slandering him for not having won anything with Argentina. Of course, he broke that deadlock when Argentina won the Copa America in 2021, and but yet him not winning the World Cup still seemed to be, in a lot of people's eyes, the one dark spot in his career, in his illustrious career. Everyone seemed to admit that he was one of the greatest players of all time. But for him to really be crowned as the greatest player of all time, objectively, I'm not talking subjectively, for me, as a matter of fact, he's been the greatest player of all time since 2015, irrespective of how many Ballon d'Ors he's won or or whether he won a World Cup or not, or whether he won an international trophy or not. All of these things was just like a cherry on top for me. So when you take all of these things into consideration, you take all of the criticism that he's gotten in the past few years for not winning the World Cup, for not winning an international trophy, and then you put that into perspective and make that the narrative of this Ballon d'Or ceremony, it makes sense to see that Lionel Messi goes on to win the Ballon d'Or this year, despite Erling Haaland having an incredible season with Manchester City. But I have a friend, one of my best friends is a Manchester City fan, and he himself felt that Haaland was arguably not even the best player for Manchester City this past season. Actually, the best player was Rodri, but it's just that since he's a CDM, he's not going to kind of get the recognition that a forward like Haaland does. And we can see that in the Ballon d'Or rankings. We don't see Rodri in the top three Ballon d'Or rankings either. If you take that into consideration, you take into consideration that a Manchester City fan himself is saying that Haaland wasn't clear cut the best player of Manchester City in their treble winning season. And and the one thing which has unfortunately been a dark spot on Haaland's incredible season has been the fact that he hasn't been able to score in the big games. He's been found a little lacking in the big games, which Lionel Messi, on the other hand, in the World Cup he like we discussed earlier, he scored in every single knockout stage game. He scored a brace in the final, scored his penalty as well. So Haaland has been a bit circumspect in the big games, whereas Messi hasn't. So that again works in Messi's favor when it comes to winning the Ballon d'Or. But of course, the debate will rage on, and it always will. But I think nobody can even if you don't necessarily agree with Messi winning the Ballon d'Or, I don't think anyone can argue that he deserved to be up there in that conversation, given the incredible pressure that he's had on his shoulders over the past few years. And of course, there will be people who might have incomplete or factually incorrect information. They may think that it's he's getting the Ballon d'Or on the basis of his Inter Miami exploits. No, he's not. Absolutely not. I don't think any Kule would say that he should be getting the Ballon d'Or on the basis of what he's doing with Inter Miami. But nothing that he's doing with Inter Miami is being taken into consideration because that's what is happening in this season. The ruling of the Ballon d'Or has changed. Instead of looking at the calendar year, it's actually looking at the season year. So the season 22-23 is the season where the World Cup happened as well, and that is the season which is being taken into consideration for the voting. And Lionel Messi, even for PSG, was pretty incredible. Again, his stint at PSG, especially second season, his first season was not a very good season, admittedly, but his second season is going to be one of the most underrated seasons of his career, I feel, because if you look at PSG now, they're really struggling in the league. They're really struggling in the Champions League without Messi. They do have Mbappe. They don't have Messi and Neymar anymore, but Neymar was for many of the big games, Neymar was not present because of injury. So the fact that they don't have Messi right now is really it's really hurting them. It's really hurting them big time. And if you remember, Messi scored that incredible free kick in the closing minutes of League One games, and you can see that he's made the difference in several occasions for PSG as well. He has his numbers for PSG as well. I know, of course, the French league is not as competitive as the English Premier League, and I don't think anyone would argue about that. But it's just the fact that even though it's not as important is even though it's not as competitive and as difficult as the English Premier League, the fact is that Messi still did make a difference in the team to go on and win the League One title, right? So that does count for something. Now, I'm not saying that he should be winning the Ballon d'Or on the basis of his exploits at PSG, but again, he's not won the Ballon d'Or on the basis of his exploits at PSG. He's won it on the basis of what he's done with Argentina and what he did with Argentina. Penalty for Argentina or not, um, is nothing short of phenomenal. And objectively, I think it's in a lot of people's eyes crowned him as the greatest player of all time. So keeping all of these things into consideration, I just feel like narratively in terms of the Ballon d'Or, a lot about the Ballon d'Or is also about storytelling. In addition to the stats, we've also seen in the past where players have won or not won the Ballon d'Or, not on the basis of their stats, but in terms of on the basis of the story that the winner told. Luka Modric did not have the best of stats when it came to 2018. Mohamed Salah had better stats. Lionel Messi had better stats, but Luka Modric yet went on to win the Ballon d'Or because he was incredible for Madrid. And he was also incredible for Croatia. So even though Croatia didn't win the Ballon d'Or, the entire story of Croatia making it to their first ever World Cup final was enough for Modric to win the Ballon d'Or that year, even though Croatia did not win. So I've always felt like the Ballon d'Or, as important as stats are to the Ballon d'Or, the overall story of what is being said about the winner of the Ballon d'Or is more important. And Lionel Messi finally conquering the peak of the World Cup is the biggest story there is in football. I mean, people can argue about it for as long as they want, but Lionel Messi winning the World Cup is the biggest football story of all time. And for that reason alone, I feel like, and for his performances with PSG, I feel like giving him the Ballon d'Or was a fair pick. Even though, again, I would say that even if he wouldn't have won the Ballon d'Or and would have gone to Haaland, I personally wouldn't have minded it. But yeah, I'm not complaining down that Messi's won. So, Coolers, what do you guys think about Lionel Messi winning the Ballon d'Or? And I want to know what you guys think objectively. I'm not asking you to think from the heart. I'm asking you to think from the mind and tell me what you guys think about the Ballon d'Or victory. And yeah, that's about it. And for those people, and I think for the few naysayers who still weren't entirely convinced that Messi is the GOAT, I think the eighth Ballon d'Or should do it. In all honesty, for me personally, his fifth Ballon d'Or way back in 2015 cemented his status as the GOAT. And even if he wouldn't have won a single Ballon d'Or after that, he would have still remained the GOAT in my eyes. But he's gone on to win three more. He's gone on to fulfill Johan Cruyff's prophecy that Messi's going to go on to win six, seven, or eight Ballon d'Ors. So he's won eight Ballon d'Ors. So he's won his eighth Ballon d'Or, which is likely to be the last Ballon d'Or that he's ever going to win. Or is it? So what if I tell you that Lionel Messi makes a spectacular? Of course, he's not winning the Ballon d'Or while he's in playing in the MLS. But what if I tell you that he makes a spectacular return to FC Barcelona someday and helps them win the Champions League and goes on to win the ninth Ballon d'Or? Well, if that happens, Just remember that you heard it here first. And to put things into perspective and to give a little bit of credibility to my prediction skills, I predicted way back in 2011 that Edge, that the WWE wrestler Edge, who was forced to retire in 2011, would make a spectacular comeback to the WWE in the 2020 Royal Rumble, and that actually happened. And I kid you not, this is not something that I'm making up. I thought this way back in 2011 that even though it was a career-ending injury, somehow by God's grace, Edge is going to be medically cleared to compete well, and he would make his return in the 2020 Royal Rumble, and that did end up happening. Keeping that in mind, I would say that it would not be very wise for you guys to completely dismiss my opinions and my prediction. Yeah, so that's about it. Um, I shall see you guys soon, and hopefully with the other coolers this time. Before I end this video, I just need to remind you guys to give this video a thumbs up and also subscribe to our channel. Until next time, coolers, hasta la vista. We at a yet lower